Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Surprise Jab Podcast. I'm your host, Zach Ruger, surprising you with new topics every single week and jabbing you with your daily dose of UFC. And we are fresh off of another UFC event this past weekend, UFC Vegas 89 went down, and it was about as much as you could have expected out of this event. We didn't do too hot overall on picks, but for the main card, we did go 4-2, including predicting the main event correctly, so not too bad. We're going to be capping off this episode by going over all the fights, talking about what's next for some of the fighters, and just kind of doing a little old recap. Also on today's episode, in our WrestleMania revisit, we'll be looking at WrestleManias 21 through 29. Those are kind of the ones that I grew up on, so they hold a pretty special place in my heart. Going to be fun to look back on those and reminisce. Also going to be talking about some new movie I saw, Roadhouse. We're going to give an official review for Roadhouse. The latest episode of Invincible also came out. We're going to be going over some new UFC fights that have been announced. And we are going to be recapping all 48 games that have taken place so far in the men's March Madness bracket. And by the way, for my women's bracket, I made a couple women's brackets. I predicted the entire first round of the women's March Madness bracket correctly. That's right, 32 games. I predicted them all correctly. I take great pride in that. Did I do any of that in my men's brackets? None whatsoever, but we had fun. Cannot wait to go over all of that later on today's episode. Let's not waste any more time. Let's get right on into it. And we, of course, start off every single episode of the Surprise Jab Podcast with, I guess, an introduction and then a look at some new UFC fights that have been announced or any other news in general. So let's get right on into it. Since we last spoke, we've had a numerous amount of new fight announcements, including a potential leaked fight. Gonna be talking about that in just a second. But since we last talked, Nate Maness versus Jimmy Flick was announced for a UFC event going down on June 15th. It's rumored to be an Apex event, UFC 90 something or whatever at the Apex, which just absolutely kills me. But Nate Mayhem Maness, he's 4-2 in the UFC, wins over Matus Mendonca, Tony Gravely, Johnny Munoz Jr. He's had 3 performance of the nights. I mean, dude's been a staple in the unranked men's flyweight and bantamweight divisions. We'll see what he offers against Jimmy the Brick Flick, who's 2-2 in the UFC, coming off the biggest win of his career over Malcolm Gordon last time out. It's pretty crazy seeing this guy. I thought he was going to be the next big thing in the men's flyweight division, but his striking is not really up to par. He's a submission expert as far as they come, but I'm excited to see this fight going down nonetheless on some prelims most likely. Going down at UFC 301 in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil on May 4th, we have another prelim fight here as Mauricio Rufy will be making his UFC debut. He, of course, won on Dana White's Contender Series against Raymond Magomedov. Huge upset there. He'll be taking on Jamie Mularkey, who was a solid 5-5 in the UFC. Wins over John McDessie, Michael Johnson, Francisco Prado. 17-5 professionally. And Jamie Mularkey is as game as they come. He's kind of a stepping stone, if you will, for the unranked men's lightweights in the division. And Mauricio Rufy, 9-1 professionally, like I said. This guy's an absolute killer. We'll see if he can excel to UFC level competition in his home nation of Brazil. Also going down on UFC 301 on the prelims, Ismail Bonfim, one of the most electric fighters in the men's unranked lightweight division. I mean, I guess the lightweight division in general, but he's an unranked 1-1 in the UFC. But mind you, those win is over Terrence McKinney. That loss is to Benoit Saint Denis. So so far, 2 for 2 on fighting killers. 19-4 professionally. Dude is an absolute legend. Happy to see him back in Rio. He'll be taking on Vink Pichel. 14-3 professionally, 7-3 in the UFC. Vink is he's an old boy. He turns 42 this year. This is definitely setting up for an Ismail Bonfim nice KO. Looking at the men's featherweight division, the 145-pound division, we actually have 2 new fight announcements. First one, number 15 ranked Alex Caceres will be taking on unranked Sean Woodson at UFC St. Louis in St. Louis, Missouri on May 11th. Bruce Leroy Caceres, that's his nickname, is 21-14 professionally, 16-12 in the UFC. This guy's hold wins over Sergio Pettis, Julian Erosa, Sungwoo Choi. Coming off a close fight against Giga Chikadze, he will now be forced to defend his ranked spot against Sean Woodson. Sean the Sniper Woodson, 11-1 professionally, 5-1 in the UFC. Coming off a big win over Charles Jourdain. you know what? They're both tall featherweights. They're both lengthy in their reach. There's not much more to say here. I expect a decision out of that fight. Let me tell you that. Going down at UFC, or on that June 15th event, for whatever UFC event that's going to be, we have kind of a loser leaves UFC situation as Adam Fugit will take on Josh Quinlan. Both are 1-2 in the UFC, both coming off of tough losses. Someone will stay, someone will go. I do think Josh Quinlan is a bit more game than Adam Fugit, but we'll see what both these guys bring to the table. Recently unranked Adrian Yanez will be taking on Vinicius Salvador at UFC Vegas 92 on May 18th. Adrian Yanez started out his UFC run perfect 5-0. Since then has been finished by the current number ranked 14th Jonathan Martinez, and then the currently ranked number 9 Rob Font in the men's bantamweight division. So unfortunately, was not up to par with the ranked bantamweights. We'll see how he does against an unranked Vinicius Salvador, who is currently 0-2 in the UFC, but he does hold a win over UFC alum Shannon Ross. So we'll see how he performs. And what I was speaking about a leaked fight here, as it was just announced that Cody Durden versus Carlos Hernandez will be fighting at UFC 303 on June 29th, International Fight Week. And Cody Durden, in his announcement, said something about how it's like an honor to be on the same card as Conor McGregor. So the rumors have been circulating, are fired off. I mean, Chandler said he's go for it. McGregor says go for it. That Michael Chandler will fight Conor McGregor at UFC 303 in the main event. That is all but confirmed by the fighters, but not actually by the UFC. Cody Durden giving us a little leak here, but Cody Durden is 5-3-1 in the UFC, 16-5 professionally. Carlos Hernandez 2-2 in the UFC, 9-3 professionally. Cody is pretty impressive, though, as he fights. I believe he's either on a 5-fight win streak or he just had a 5-fight win streak snapped. He's tough as they come, though, but thanks for that McGregor leak. But that's absolutely massive if Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler is actually taking place after almost 2 years waiting. Super excited for that. We'll see what happens. We'll honestly see what happens. But as for now, I hope it does come true. Our final fight announcement for the day, of course, comes from the men's featherweight division, as number 11 ranked Edson Barbosa will take on number 14th ranked Lerone Murphy in the main event of an Apex event on May 18th, which could be UFC Vegas 92, 93, who knows what's going to be, but Edson Barbosa coming off a crazy win over Sodiq Yusuff in which he almost got finished in round 1, managed to come back, win. That was on my top 5, maybe even top 3 fights of the year for last year, especially for main events. Absolutely game as they come. 2-fight win streak for Edson Barbosa. You know, he's a tough guy to beat. I mean, here's a guy who Khabib couldn't finish him. That says something. I mean, Justin Gaethje could, but I mean, he's a tough competitor. His opponent, Lerone Murphy, is 13-0, 5-0 in the UFC. Hasn't really beaten anyone notable, per se. But, I mean, this guy's game. This guy is a freaking warrior at that. And, by the way, undefeated, 13-0. He fights out of England, looking to give England another champion alongside Lerone Murphy. We'll see what happens. We'll have to wait for May 18th for that event. That is a good Apex main event, though. I will say that fight does intrigue me compared to some others, which necessarily aren't as exciting. But yeah, those are all the new fights we have. Pretty much the big news is that UFC 303 might be headlined by Conor McGregor. I know I'm jonesing to see if that fight gets booked, but I mean, my goodness, it's gonna be electric. I don't even know where to watch it. I have so many people that love watching UFC fights with me. It's an honor, but I mean, I gotta get around. I gotta get with everyone to watch that fight. Speaking of which, watching McGregor on screen, if you will, Roadhouse. That's right, I finally got around to watching Roadhouse, the big film going down on Amazon Prime starring Jake Gyllenhaal and Conor McGregor, the notorious Conor McGregor. It also had some other lady, is it Daniela Melchiora, someone... I don't know her name. She was in the Suicide Squad. She was the rat lady. She's like Jake Gyllenhaal's love interest in the film. And, it's got a 6.4 out of 10 on IMDb, 74% Rotten Tomatoes. That has me really, really surprised. But Metacritic has it as 60 out of 100. I honestly agree. It is an average film. And I went in just really hoping to see just an amazing film. But my issue is I came from watching Sicario, Dune Part 2, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Inglourious Bastards. I've been watching some great critically acclaimed films, and I don't know why I kind of came in thinking this would be a good film. I kind of had to remind myself, hey, this is meant to be a goofy film, just about fighting and stuff, and that's pretty much what it was. I mean, you get little CGI fight scenes in here. Some of the acting is a bit subpar. Obviously, Jake Gyllenhaal is amazing. Any role you put him in, he'll do great. Conor McGregor is just a natural on screen. But, I mean, it was essentially, Conor McGregor. Actually, the plot is honestly really confusing, too. It's not a simple plot. Basically, this one son of some rich tycoon wants to tear down the Roadhouse, which is this bar on like the side of the highway, which is essentially, it's a roadhouse called the Roadhouse. And Jake Gyllenhaal is an ex-UFC fighter. The owner of the bar somehow finds him, hires him to be a bouncer there because they've been dealing with trouble. It turns out that trouble was from this one guy who's in jail. He's trying to get like the Roadhouse torn down to build something there, get like money from them. And so the son, he's like battling with his dad. So the dad sends Conor McGregor in, who is essentially just like this vigilante who can like beat people up and stuff. And it's goofy, it's fun, and you know what? I don't want to say I lost interest halfway through, but it won't lie. It is a long movie at 2 hours. This would definitely sit well in an hour and a half, an hour 40 at max. By the way, you can see the entire cast on Wikipedia. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. There's like 19 actual actors in the film, which shows you just how simple it is. But Daniela Melchior, that was the lady I was thinking of. She was in the Suicide Squad. She was also a voice in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. How about that? I didn't even know that. Of course, Conor McGregor's in this as well. Billy Magnuson, who does play the sort of villain in this. Conor McGregor is also the villain. But Billy Magnuson was in another show that I thought people might recognize. Which one was it? He was in No Time to Die, The Many Saints of Newark. But that's a James Bond, and that's a Sopranos type thing. He was in Aladdin. But Game Night, the movie with... the movie with Jason Bateman and the frickin' girl from The Notebook. All right, he was in that film. You guys would probably recognize him. Jessica Williams plays the lead owner of the bar. She was in Fantastic Beasts, Secrets of Dumbledore. Never really saw that. She was in Hot Tub Time Machine 2. How about that? That was a funny movie. Who am I looking for? Is it Austin Post? Oh, Post Malone, by the way. Post Malone is freaking in this. He stars as like this fighter in the opening scenes of the film. And he basically sees that he has to fight Jake Gyllenhaal and completely backs up. He's like, I don't want to fight Jake Gyllenhaal. I don't want to deal with him. Super goofy, super goofy. Arturo Castro, he plays this character named Mo in the film, and Mo's super funny. He's basically on the bad guys team, but just keeps he's like just that dumb character who keeps helping the other guys. He's pretty funny. I enjoy seeing him in this. JD Pardo, another actor. He was in F9. He played Jack Toretto. I knew I recognized him from somewhere. He's also in the Twilight Saga, Breaking Dawn too. Never saw any of that. So there's a couple actors that are of note. There's one in particular who I was looking for, who I've been seeing in a couple more films now, and I just cannot find him. I cannot find his name. He was in the latest season of You. Very much enjoy this actor. He played like one of the rich guys on the last season of You, and I was hoping to give him a shout out, but as I keep looking through this, I don't think I'm going to be able to give him a shout out. I'm so sorry. You'll recognize him. He's one of like the other bouncers on the thing. But yeah, that's all I got for Roadhouse. For me, it gets a 6.9 out of 10. It's not bad. It's not bad per se, but it's like you have to go in expecting that you just want a mess of a movie. And if that's the case, then you will probably enjoy it. So Roadhouse, 6.9 out of 10. Love Conor McGregor. Love Jake Gyllenhaal. There's just, it's so goofy because they kind of like, almost like the killing in the movie just feels weird when like a character gets killed because you feel like, they should be getting beat up, but instead like a character's getting eaten by an alligator. Conor McGregor somehow, I'm not to give anything away, but I mean, Conor McGregor just takes so much punishment. Almost like, how is he alive? And in one of the villains, he gets like launched off a boat into like the Roadhouse and survives. It is just super goofy, and it kind of just ends like, oh, that's the ending, spoiler alert right now, spoiler alert for the ending right now, so skip ahead to the next time marker here, but Jake Gyllenhaal essentially just like gets a bunch of cash from the bad guys, gives it to like this mom and pop shop that he had been like, helping them out the whole movie, and just goes away on a bus. And you kind of go, I guess it sets up, he could go on another adventure, and then you figure out that Conor McGregor is still alive in a little post-credit scene. And they keep giving ass shots of Conor McGregor throughout the whole film, which was very weird. I did not know what to make of that. But you know what? It is what it is. Roadhouse, a goofy movie. If you need something to watch, you can watch it. You can watch with your family even. Nothing wrong with watching this with your family whatsoever. Another show that I have been all on about, and that's Invincible. I was kind of torn off by it since they took their the freaking 6-month hiatus from dropping episodes. But if no one knows what Invincible is actually an animated show. And if anyone knows me, I hate animated shows. I loved them when I was a kid, but nowadays I just can't stand them. It reminds me of anime to a thing, especially for TV shows. Movies, it's a bit different. But Invincible, little TV, kind of like The Boys, but animated, if you will, the Amazon Prime show. And I have been absolutely loving it. I don't know what it is about this show. I think it's the acting is great. The voice acting is great. The animation's great. Super fun. Just watched episode 6, and it's pretty crazy. They were killing off some of the main characters of the show. They're setting up this big fight between Omni-Man, Mark, who's invincible, and what's his face? Alan the alien. They're gonna take on the Viltrumites, who are the big bads of this universe, and it's just really building up, and I am here for it. It is very exciting. Very, very exciting. Latest episode, big stuff going down. Of course, Alan coming back, trying to get Mark to come join the fight with them. Mark is actually voiced by Glenn from the early seasons of The Walking Dead. I love the early seasons of The Walking Dead. Latest seasons completely gave up on. Yeah, fun stuff. Fun stuff all around with this show. Very much enjoy it. It's an 8 out of 10 show for me personally. There's only 2 episodes left though, so it's kind of they released episode 1, 2, 3, and 4 for 3 straight weeks from November 3rd, 10th, 17th, and 24th. And then they waited until March to come out with episode 5 and 6. So the next 2 weeks I'll figure out what happens. But you have so many great voice actors on the cast. It is amazing. You have Seth Rogen, who does characters. J.K. Simmons voices Omni-Man, who's essentially the Homelander of this universe, the Superman of this universe. You have Jillian Jacobs. She is from, Jillian Jacobs, I think she is from Community. She voices one of the stars in this show. Andrew Rannells is on here. He's been in, what has Andrew Rannells been in? I recognize his face so much. He's been in Broadway, Sex and the City 2. He was actually on The Bachelorette. That's crazy. He was in The Intern. That's where I saw him. The Intern, great movie with Anne Hathaway and Robert De Niro. Recognize him. And you also have, I'm trying to think of who voices Rex. It is, I cannot think of his name, and it's killing me. Walton Goggins, he's another actor you guys would know, but yeah, Jason Mantzoukas, that's who he is. He's kind of one of the guys that voices characters on Big Mouth. He's big on the animated scene. He was in Let's Be Cops. I know that movie. But Invincible, very good. I encourage everyone to watch it, and I'll be interested to see how they wrap up season 2. I wonder if we'll even get a season 3. It took them 2 years to make season 2, which I just find ridiculous. But I'll tell you what I don't find ridiculous, and that is looking back at the past at all the fun WrestleManias. That's right, I've been going through this little series in the build-up to WrestleMania 40. WrestleMania 40, of course, going down April 6th and 7th in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It is a big deal. It is hype. It is exciting. And as we wait for it, in a sense, I've kind of been going down memory lane, looking at past WrestleManias. We've so far looked at WrestleManias 1 through 20. We're going to look at 21 through 28 today as I kind of fill you all in on what goes on in the wrestling world and what are some of the best matches to watch in the past. So WrestleMania 21 picks up April 3rd, 2005, which went down at the Staples Center in Los Angeles, California. And the theme for this was kind of WrestleMania Goes Hollywood. It was super fun, super festive. You had a bunch of stars coming out for this without a doubt. And they released parody movie trailers in the build-up to this. They released a Braveheart, Forrest Gump, Pulp Fiction, A Few Good Men, Taxi Driver, Gladiator. They were doing these funny things where they would put the WWE stars and their matches, if you will, but in the movie trailer sense, which was super innovative, and I wish they would do that today. But some of the notable actors and actresses who were in attendance, you had Motorhead, they were performing for Triple H's anthem, Adam Sandler, Rob Schneider, Billy Gobbins from ZZ Top, the Black Eyed Peas were there, Billy Corgan from the Smashing Pumpkins, another band. You had Anthony Kiedis from the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Ice Cube was there, Carmen Electrica, Sylvester Stallone, you even had Rick Rubin. I mean, you had all the stars in attendance for this event. Macaulay Culkin was there. Such good matches on this card as well. Let's get right on into it. There were only 9 matches on the whole card. 8 were actually shown, since I guess they finally started doing pre-show matches. That's what the word, pre-show matches. Kicking off the card, Rey Mysterio wrestling Eddie Guerrero in what would turn out to be Eddie Guerrero's final WrestleMania match. 13 minutes of just technical wrestling. Rest in peace to Eddie Guerrero, one of the greatest wrestlers I've ever freaking watched. He's absolutely amazing. Rest in peace. Rey Mysterio still doing it today, my goodness. Then, the inaugural Money in the Bank ladder match. So if there's any WWE fans out there, and if anyone just wants to know, Money in the Bank is essentially they put a briefcase on top of like in the middle of the ring up top, and you have to climb up a ladder and get it. And once you get that Money in the Bank, you can essentially cash it in and get a title shot whenever you want. And this was absolutely star-studded. You had Kane, Christian, Chris Benoit, Shelton Benjamin, Chris Jericho, Edge, all of them champions. Everyone except Shelton Benjamin won the WWE Championship and the World Heavyweight Championship. Absolutely wild. So that actually be Chris Benoit's final match at WrestleMania, because he would actually, we all know, if anyone knows about Chris Benoit, look up Chris Benoit. He is very frowned upon. He is not a good human being, and even if, like, you know, it's disproven, like, what happened with everything, it's just messy. But Edge originally won this, and the storylines he would go on to create after this were absolutely amazing. After that, you had The Undertaker taking on a young Randy Orton in a singles match. Another great match right there. And this was sort of when we were building up that The Undertaker had this WrestleMania streak. People wanted to take it. Randy Orton's nickname was the Legend Killer, but he couldn't get it done. The Undertaker handled him, and it was lots of fun. It's also funny looking back at some of these women's matches. Women's wrestling, I should say, is certainly taken more serious today. Trish Stratus defeated Chris Hemingway in just a 5.5-minute match for the women's championship, like the biggest women's belt in the company, and it was kind of treated as a joke. So it's kind of nice to see they treat women's wrestling better today. Comical look at it back now. Kurt Angle defeated Shawn Michaels in a singles match, best match from this WrestleMania by far. Almost half an hour of Kurt Angle and Shawn Michaels giving us amazing wrestling. Kurt Angle doing this all with a broken neck, I'm pretty sure. Absolutely crazy. Shawn Michaels still in his, I don't even know if I want to call it his prime, but he was still able to move around the ring and do great things. Best match from this WrestleMania, Kurt Angle versus Shawn Michaels. After that, you had Aki Bono defeating Big Show in a sumo match. Aki Bono, notable sumo fighter, like actual Japanese sumo wrestler, did it for a while now. Absolutely amazing. Rose to the top 1 championships, and he took on the Big Show, who's one of the biggest wrestlers in the company. Beat him in a sumo match. Super, super goofy. After that, in the second last match on that, you had John Cena defeating John Bradshaw Layfield, JBL, to win his first WWE Championship. An amazing moment. John Cena, absolutely incredible. Love to see it. And John Cena, after that, would jump into the crowd with the belt. I loved it. Huge John Cena supporter. His first title win in the company. Or for a big belt. He'd obviously won the United States Championship before that. The main event, Batista defeating Triple H to win the World Heavyweight Championship in a just over 20-minute match. Very good match too right here. Some of the best you'll ever see from Batista and Triple H. And the whole theme with them was essentially they were on this team called Evolution. Ric Flair, Triple H, Batista, Randy Orton. And it disbanded, and Triple H had the World Heavyweight Championship. Batista was able to wrestle it away from him. Power bombed his way to his first victory, and Batista got to main event WrestleMania and get a win. I absolutely loved it. Fun times. After WrestleMania 21, we go to WrestleMania 22, which was in Rosemont, Illinois at the All-State Arena, going down in April of 2006. This event was headlined by John Cena. Very fun event nonetheless. I don't think it was as good as its predecessor, but This is still a very notable WrestleMania. Absolutely massive stage. Absolutely massive stage. I very much like the production design for this, but I mean, on the card itself, you had a couple of fun matches. You had Rob Van Dam defeating Bobby Lashley, Finlay, Matt Hardy, Ric Flair, and Shelton Benjamin in this year's Money in the Bank ladder match. Rob Van Dam, love him. High flyer, gets it done. You also had John Bradshaw Layfield defeating Chris Benoit. I guess I didn't know when Chris Benoit went crazy. If I'm being honest, I guess Chris Benoit was still around and JBL was beating him to win the United States Championship. So my bad. We're still going to forget about that. One of the most notable moments from this WrestleMania, though, is Edge taking on Mick Foley in a hardcore match, which is just as you put it there, a hardcore match, pretty wild. And Edge would actually spear him through a flaming table. A flaming table. I find that super, super fun. But it's nonetheless kind of scary going through a flaming table. They were extinguishing them. That's probably the most notable moment from this WrestleMania. Also on here, you had The Undertaker defeating Mark Henry in a casket match. That's fun. Shawn Michaels defeating Vince McMahon in a no-holds-barred match. And one of the best matches from here. It only lasted under 10 minutes, but it's one of the most memorable. It was Rey Mysterio defeating Kurt Angle and Randy Orton to win the World Heavyweight Championship. I just absolutely love that. Just Rey Mysterio doing it for Eddie Guerrero, who had passed away the year before. Loved it. Rest in peace, Eddie Guerrero. Rey Mysterio doing it for his buddy. Then, main event, John Cena defeats Triple H in a pretty competitive back-and-forth bout, submitting him with 22 minutes in left, or just 22 minutes in, I should say. Not the best match, but I mean, John Cena defeating Triple H, a fun moment nonetheless, and it was the main event of WrestleMania 22. WrestleMania 23, I mean, they honestly give just the same vibes as 22, if I'm being honest. But this one, they took it to another level. It was goofy, going down at Ford Field in Detroit, Michigan. 74,000 plus were in attendance for this event. They actually, apparently the attendance record was 80,100 fans. But I mean, they obviously inflate their numbers sometimes, so I don't actually know how many were there, but nonetheless, stars are out in this one, as we actually had one of the weirdest matches in WrestleMania history, as Bobby Lashley with Donald Trump, that's right, former president, in his corner, defeated Umaga with Mr. McMahon in his corner. It was Donald Trump versus Mr. McMahon, and whichever one of them lost their representative, which was Bobby Lashley for Trump and Umaga for McMahon, the loser would have to shave their head, and Mr. McMahon ended up shaving his head. Imagine if Donald Trump would have had to shave his head. He never would have agreed to that, without a doubt. Also on this WrestleMania, Mr. Kennedy won the Money in the Bank ladder match. Fun match there. Chris Benoit defeated MVP to retain the United States Championship. I clearly don't remember when Chris Benoit went crazy. We're in 2007, though. It had to have taken place after WrestleMania, but I'm still confused how Chris Benoit is still on WrestleMania. So that's pretty fascinating to me. But fun match on here is The Undertaker defeated Batista by pinfall. Probably the best match on this WrestleMania, if I'm being honest. Undertaker and Batista giving us 15 minutes plus of great action, great wrestling. Absolutely loved it. You also had an 8-man tag match between the ECW originals, Rob Van Dam, Tommy Dreamer, Sabu, and Sandman, taking on some no-name bums. I mean, it's pretty much, picture in UFC terms, picture in NFL terms, like a team of Tom Brady, Jerry Rice, Randy Moss, Adrian Peterson's taking on just some newer guys that are relevant. I don't even know. I don't even have a good example, but that happened. And the main event was John Cena versus Shawn Michaels for the WWE Championship. And, this was a good match, but it was just oddly outshined by The Undertaker and Batista earlier on in the night. And John Cena is a great technical wrestler. Shawn Michaels is a great technical wrestler. They gave us an amazing match nonetheless. But, I kind of remember this more for The Undertaker and Batista. This match also went 30 minutes, though. And it was a pretty solid main event to cap off WrestleMania 23. WrestleMania 24 going down in March of 2008 in Orlando, Florida at the Florida Citrus Bowl. Almost 75,000 people in this open stadium field. What is it called? It was outside. What am I trying to say? It was outside. Absolutely fun event in general. You had Floyd Mayweather competing in a match on this card, which is pretty goofy. He actually fought the Big Show in a no disqualification match and knocked him out. You also had CM Punk winning a Money in the Bank ladder match, a young CM Punk, might add. Chris Jericho, John Morrison, Mr. Kennedy, Shelton Benjamin, MVP all in this one. Very fun Money in the Bank ladder match. Batista defeated Umaga in essentially a squash match. Kane defeated Chavo Guerrero to have what was at the time the shortest match in WrestleMania history at 11 seconds. You also had Shawn Michaels and Ric Flair in what honestly should have been the main event, as Shawn Michaels retired Ric Flair and Ric Flair's final WWE match. It was absolutely amazing. Great moment. Shawn Michaels crying, hitting him with the sweet chin music, then pinning him. It was so emotional. And obviously it's all scripted, but that's what makes it more fun, treating it like a movie. In my reference to how women's wrestling was a joke, Beth Phoenix and Melina defeated Maria Kanellis and Ashley Morasso, with Snoop Dogg as like a ringside guy in a Playboy Bunny Mania Lumberjill match. Yeah, this would not fly in today's Me Too world, not whatsoever. Randy Orton defeating Triple H and John Cena to retain the WWE Championship in what should have been honestly a spectacular match. Ended up not being really like the greatest match. It was pretty average. Randy Orton, Triple H, and John Cena just hitting their finishers, doing what needs to get done, but nothing too exciting. The main event, though, as much as Shawn Michaels and Ric Flair was amazing, The Undertaker defeating Edge to win the World Heavyweight Championship was an outstanding match. One of the greatest WrestleMania main events I've seen personally, wrestling-wise. The finishers, the kickouts, absolutely amazing. 24 minutes of The Undertaker and Edge giving us amazing grappling. Great WrestleMania, great matches. WrestleMania 24, you get an A. You get a B+. I don't hand out A's and 10 out of 10s too often, so except for my girlfriend, all right? That's what a good boyfriend should say. Moving on to WrestleMania 25. Going down in 2009. Gosh, how old was I? How old was I in 2009? I can't even remember. Actually, I was 7. I'd have been 7. I would have been 7 years old. That's crazy thought. WrestleMania 25 going down in Houston, Texas at the Reliance Stadium. 72,744 WWE fans packed the arena for the 25th anniversary of WrestleMania, and this card did not disappoint. Loaded with 8 matches. You had CM Punk winning the Money in the Bank ladder match in back-to-back years, and this match topped the previous years. You had Kane, Kofi Kingston, Mark Henry, MVP, Shelton Benjamin, so many notable names just partaking in this. Some great moments. I think Shelton Benjamin did a front flip into like a crowd of the superstars. Crazy moments, fun way to get the card going. Then had Santino Marella, who was a man wrestler, not even like in a drag show type way, but he dressed up as a girl and won the Women's Battle Royal, which just something that wouldn't fly today, but was super funny back then. Very much enjoyed that. You had Chris Jericho defeating Jimmy Snuka, Ricky Steamboat, and Roddy Piper in a handicap elimination match. Just really weird. Don't even know what to make of that. Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy had a great brother versus brother feud, an Extreme Rules match. Very fun. And the bad guy winning. Love to see that. The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels, though, stealing the show, what should have been the main event, as The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels give us a 30-minute match of pure perfection, some of the greatest spots, greatest moments in professional wrestling history, a 5 out of 5 match. This was just, this was amazing. Great moments, and we honestly thought that The Undertaker the streak was going to end here, but he managed to survive, managed to beat Shawn Michaels, and little did we know the storyline was not over. You then had in the second to last match, and then had John Cena defeating Big Show and Edge for the Triple Threat World Heavyweight Championship match. And there was one spot in the match where John Cena picked up Big Show and Edge on his back for a moment. The sheer strength of that man is insane. Main event, Triple H versus Randy Orton. Very underwhelming for how big of a card they built up. This was one of the best feuds heading into WrestleMania. And unfortunately, it just kind of fell flat. Triple H won, defeated Randy Orton, and it was kind of like, yeah, okay, that happened. But I don't think anyone can get over just how good The Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels was. That was absolutely amazing. WrestleMania 26, which went down in 2010. This is a WrestleMania that I've seen a numerous amount of times. Went down at the University of Phoenix Stadium in Glendale, Arizona. 72,000 plus in attendance for this massive WrestleMania. I can tell you how exactly all these matches go. I have seen so many of these matches so many times. We kick off the night, The Miz and Big Show defeating John Morrison and R-Truth in basically a squash tag match. Nothing too much there, but then Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes, and Ted DiBiase Jr., they were kind of like a little trio. They were called Legacy, I think they were, and this was kind of like them breaking up, having a little food, and Randy Orton just taking handle of them, finishing them both, beating them. Good match, good way to get it going. Money in the Bank ladder match this year, Jack Swagger defeating Christian, Dolph Ziggler, Drew McIntyre, Evan Bourne, Kane, Kofi Kingston, a number of other superstars. Fun match, good Money in the Bank ladder match. I wouldn't say it was better than the other two, but this one was pretty good. Then had Triple H defeating Sheamus in a 1v1, just typical normal match. Pretty decent, nothing too much here. Rey Mysterio defeated CM Punk in if Mysterio loses, he had to join CM Punk's group. It was very weird. Rey Mysterio beat him in just around 6 minutes. Bret Hart then defeated Mr. McMahon in what was just one of the worst wrestling matches. I mean, just, oh my gosh, just such a joke. Neither man belonging there. So boring. Then we had Chris Jericho versus Edge for the World Heavyweight Championship. Some amazing wrestling in this, amazing spots, and the bad guy Chris Jericho winning. I was all for it. Very fun stuff there. Then had a 10 Diva tag match just to get all your female wrestlers on there. Didn't even last 4 minutes. Co-main event, if you will, was John Cena defeating Batista by submission to win the WWE Championship. Great spots in that match. Great moments. That was a great bout. And, by the way, John Cena afterwards celebrating with the crowd. It doesn't get better than that. And then we get to the main event of WrestleMania 26, The Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels 2. It was the streak versus the career. Oh man, it was amazing. Shawn Michaels, if he lost, he would retire. And if he did, but if he beat Undertaker, the streak would be over. 24 minutes on the dot. These two went to war. Great spots, great moments. They tried to top their match from last year, and honestly, you could honestly say that they might have, but WrestleMania 25 was just so good. Their fight, I mean, just this one, hard to top, but easily as good. The Undertaker finally beat Shawn Michaels after like 3 of his finishers he hit, and this was just the icing on the cake for a great WrestleMania. WrestleMania 26, very good WrestleMania. After that, though, we did have WrestleMania 27, which went down April 3rd, 2011 in Atlanta, Georgia at the Georgia Dome, 71,000 plus in attendance. And this is one of the weirdest WrestleManias, as in a sense it's set up next year's WrestleMania. WrestleMania 27 was, it's a weird one. It's weird. The Rock was the host, which was super fun. Loved having The Rock as a host. He was a great host, giving us some comical moments, getting the crowd all energized. Stage was looking massive. And it was just an interesting WrestleMania overall. So we kick off the night with Edge defeating Alberto Del Rio for the World Heavyweight Championship, and Alberto Del Rio had just won the 40-man Royal Rumble, one of the biggest Royal Rumbles in history, and gets squashed by Edge. Essentially, Edge just had his number, beats him in 11 minutes, and it was almost just kind of like, oh, well, they don't really see much Alberto Del Rio, right? It would actually be Edge's last WrestleMania match for the next 10 years due to injury, so it was kind of an emotional event looking back. Cody Rhodes would defeat Rey Mysterio in a back-and-forth 12-minute singles match. Pretty fun. You then had an 8-man tag, which lasted about a minute and a half. Randy Orton and CM Punk then had just a typical singles match, and it was some great technical wrestling. Ends with CM Punk doing like a dive off the ropes and Randy Orton catching it into an RKO. Absolutely good moment right there. Great match. Very much enjoyed that. Michael Cole defeated Jerry Lawler in just an absolute mess of 14 minutes. Just a goofy match there. Don't even know what to make of that. And then The Undertaker and Triple H. I mean, The Undertaker went on an absolutely incredible run of WrestleMania matches, and none whatsoever as this one, a no-holds-barred match, which lasted almost 30 minutes. Him and Triple H went to war. It ends with Triple H essentially like passing out, barely tapping to The Undertaker in his triangle choke, if you will, is essentially what it was. And this was just a crazy match. Triple H had to be like helped out of the arena. So did The Undertaker. They gave it their all. One of the greatest WrestleMania matches. Definitely should have been the main event on this WrestleMania. Main event, The Miz versus John Cena, lasted just over 15 minutes. Nothing too spectacular. And why did I say that it almost is like a build-up to next year's WrestleMania? Well, the match ended with them both being counted out. And The Rock comes out and says, let's restart this, and just rock bottoms John Cena middle of the ring. And The Miz comes back in, pins him, and retains his belt. So The Miz defeated John Cena to retain the WWE Championship in the main event of WrestleMania. That's a wild statement unto itself. And it was just all build up for next year, which is WrestleMania 28. Went down April 1st, 2012 in Miami Gardens, Florida at the Sun Life Stadium. 78,000 plus fans packing for a once-in-a-lifetime bout between John Cena and The Rock. And I have watched this WrestleMania so many times. This was such a fun WrestleMania. The stage, just the crowd, everything worked out perfect for this. And I've watched all the matches on here so many times. I have this on DVD set. I've watched it so many times. Kicking off this WrestleMania, Sheamus hits Daniel Bryan with one brogue kick, which is just essentially a boot to the face, and wins the World Heavyweight Championship in 18 seconds. Weird way to get WrestleMania going, but there you go. Then Kane defeats Randy Orton in just a typical singles bout. Kane chokeslamming him off the top rope. Fun moment there. The Big Show then beat Cody Rhodes to win the Intercontinental Championship. A little fun fight. Kelly and Marina Menounos, that's right, the actress, defeating Beth Phoenix and Eve Torres in a little tag team match. And then we got into one of the greatest WrestleMania bouts of all time, The Undertaker versus Triple H 3, the trilogy, this time in a Hell in a Cell match with Shawn Michaels as a special guest referee. The storyline for this was amazing. The match itself was amazing. The amount of times you thought The Undertaker was going to lose. So many times. It went over 30 minutes, but finally The Undertaker was able to beat Triple H, even with Shawn Michaels not wanting to count out his buddy Triple H. He still did, and The Undertaker remained undefeated at WrestleMania. Utterly amazing. Love this bout, and it ends with the three superstars, Shawn Michaels, Triple H, and Undertaker, all embracing at the top of the ramp, the entrance ramp, that is. The fireworks going off. Amazing. Cinema, that's all I can say. Cinema. Then had a giant 12-man tag match, which I used to watch over and over again for some reason. Don't know why I love that so much. Co-main event, CM Punk versus Chris Jericho for the WWE Championship. Amazing bout, went over 22 minutes. Great wrestling. CM Punk getting the win here just showed how good he was at wrestling. Along with Chris Jericho, an amazing heel. An amazing heel was Chris Jericho. And it was weird seeing CM Punk as a face in this one, honestly. We then got to the main event, and after what was supposedly once in a lifetime, I mean, The Rock and John Cena would actually fight at next year's WrestleMania. We'll get to that in literally a couple seconds. But I mean, this one went over 30 minutes. It was just technical wrestling. The ending was the best part. John Cena goes to hit The Rock's signature elbow drop. Instead, The Rock counters, hits him with a rock bottom, and wins in his hometown of Miami, Florida. It was a fun bout, fun WrestleMania. And even so, you know what? It was all like, you know what, once in a lifetime. And that's what it felt like at the time. But little did we know, at WrestleMania 29, the final one we'll talk about right now, we would get a rematch between The Rock and John Cena, which just was so unnecessary. WrestleMania 29, going down in East Rutherford, New Jersey, 74,000 plus fans packing the arena. And like I said, they decided, hey, it worked last year, let's do it again this year. So they decided to have The Rock and John Cena rematch in the main event. Whole card itself was kind of forgettable. You had The Shield defeating Big Show, Randy Orton, and Sheamus. Just an average fight. Mark Henry defeating Ryback. Typical bout. I mean, just nothing really else. The best match of the night went to The Undertaker and CM Punk. Undertaker, yet again, having the best match of WrestleMania. Incredible stuff, defeating CM Punk in a hard-fought 22-minute bout. Co-main event, Triple H defeated Brock Lesnar in all no-holds-barred match. If Triple H lost, he would have to retire. So, I mean, there was some stipulation. That was a fun bout. And then the main event, John Cena, The Rock. It was basically John Cena hitting attitude adjustments and The Rock hitting rock bottoms. Yeah, nothing too exciting at this WrestleMania, unfortunately. But I mean, The Undertaker and CM Punk, that is an amazing bout. That is one of the best Undertaker bouts he's ever had at WrestleMania. Could be talking about top 3 potentially. Triple H, Brock Lesnar, fun fight, and yeah, John Cena and The Rock, just disappointing. After how fun WrestleMania 28 was, WrestleMania 29 felt like a step down. But that would all lead up to next year for WrestleMania 30. But that's a story for another day. That's a story for another day. So yeah, WrestleManias 21 to 29, probably my most knowledgeable, if you will. Love all those WrestleManias so much, so near and dear to my heart. I mean, I own WrestleMania 26, 27, 28 all on DVD, so I was that kid. I was that WrestleMania kid, but that's enough wrestling talk for this episode. I'll tell you what, I'm a little nervous to talk about this, and I've been debating doing it, but I am going to talk about March Madness. I'm going to attempt to summarize all the games that we've had so far up until the Sweet 16 without trying to make it go too long, since I still have to talk about UFC Vegas 89. So we're going to recap rounds 1 and 2 of March Madness, talk about what could potentially be going down in the Sweet 6, or how the Sweet 16 games could go. I'll probably drop my predictions right now for the Sweet 16. But yeah, let's not waste any time. Let's get right into it. It's take me back to NFL days where we used to go through every NFL game. Let's recap what's gone down so far in the 2024 March Madness. All right, let me just start it off. First and foremost, no, I don't have a perfect bracket. No, all my brackets are busted. We had some good ones, somewhat. I guess. I don't even know. Oh man, let me just tell you, it is not easy predicting 63 games. It is not easy. My main champion, Houston, still kicking it, but overall, a lot of busted brackets. A couple good ones. I predicted 11 out of the 16 teams in the Sweet 16, 10 out of 16, a lot of 9 out of 16s. Did pretty good, but let's look at the games that actually went down. We'll start in the eastern part of the bracket. Number 1 seeded UConn blows out Stetson 91 to 52. I mean, just no upset of the number 1 team this year compared to Fairleigh Dickinson over Purdue last year. Stetson never stood a chance. UConn beats them by 39 points. And yeah, UConn's a wagon. Next up, number 18 FAU, number 19 Northwestern. Northwestern beats them 77 to 65. I had FAU in almost all my brackets. This was the same team that made it to the Final Four last year, and they get upset by Northwestern, by the Wildcats. They did have an absolute, Northwestern did have a stud on their team. Who was it? Ryan Langborg dropped 27 points, shooting 3 for 8 from deep. He was the main reason Northwestern got this done. Impressive stuff from them. The matchup in the round of 32, UConn blows out Northwestern 75-58. I mean, just UConn, easiest path. I mean, Stetson, Northwestern, UConn, obviously in the Sweet 16. No upset, sadly, for them. UConn, an absolute wagon. They're up to, gosh, if I'm not incorrectly, what is their record now? It is very impressive. They're like 33-3, 34-3. It is something very impressive. They've got some studs on their team. Let's see who they're playing. San Diego State beat UAB in round 1, 69 to 65. Very competitive game. UAB put up a fight, but San Diego State would not be detoured whatsoever in that matchup. Shot 24 for 55 from the field as a team, 16 for 20 from the free throw line, only 4 misses. That'll help you. They out-rebounded them by 2. Main star for the Aztecs, Jay Ledee, a forward, dropped 32 points. Oh my goodness, for UAB, their best player was E. Johnson, a guard. He had 19. Biggest upset of the tournament, in my opinion. Actually, it might be second biggest, might be the biggest, but it was an amazing game as number 13th seeded Yale beat number 4th seeded Auburn 78 to 76 to advance the round of 32. Them white boys from Yale, you gotta be kidding me. Them Ivy League mother you-know-whaters, they freaking got done upsetting Auburn. And I mean, they didn't even shoot better than them. They didn't even rebound better than them. They didn't do anything better. They just end up clutching up when it mattered most. And I'll tell you one thing, which really hurt the Auburn team, is that their starters for Auburn, two of their players, I don't know if they got swapped with bench players or something, but they put up no minutes. You had Jay Pulakidis, a guard, dropping 28 points for Yale. Impressive stuff there. Getting it done. One of the best games of the tournament so far. Round of 32, San Diego State beats Yale by 28 points. Yeah, Yale never stood a prayer. San Diego State, UConn. It's the rematch from the championship game last year. We get UConn. We get San Diego State. I'm here for it. Going to be a great game in the round. And on the Sweet 16, my goodness, already at the Sweet 16. I'm here for it. I love it. If it was up to me, though, I would probably pick UConn to advance to the Elite Eight. But yeah, out of those games we all saw there, best games of the top part of the East, you had San Diego State and UAB and Yale and Auburn. Round of 32, 2 blowout games. Moving to the bottom half of the East part of our bracket. Some fun matchups going down here. Duquesne, 11th seed, upsetting number 6 seed BYU. Big bracket buster there. That was a fun matchup, competitive down to the wires. BYU's game to lose. Duquesne absolutely balling. Fun run to the round of 32 for them. But they unfortunately had to take on number 3 seed Illinois, who blew out Morehead State in round number 1 by 16 points, and then blew out Duquesne by 26. Easy run to the Sweet 16 for Illinois, the 3 seed. And I'll be excited to see what they do against Iowa State. Iowa State blows out South Dakota State in round 1, beats Washington State in round 2, the 7th seed, who beat Drake in round 1 by 5 points. A lot of people like me had Drake in a majority of their brackets, but the Washington State Cougars able to get to the round of 32. Iowa State is able to handle them by 11 points. Now, this is the number 1 defense in the country for Iowa State. Amazing defense. And honestly, despite getting out rebounded, despite Washington State shooting better, I mean, name of the game came down to your free throws, and they were able to hit 7 more free throws than Washington State. So you have Iowa State and Illinois matching up in the Sweet 16. So how about that? Your 1, 2, 3, and 5 seeds out of the East all making it to Sweet 16. Who will I think be facing UConn? I'm honestly feeling Illinois. I feel like this is Illinois' year. I just watched Iowa State in women's basketball lose to Stanford. So, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm riding with Illinois. Moving down to the west part of our bracket, North Carolina, number 1 seed, facing Wagner. And I watched the first 10 minutes, and it was pretty close. Wagner was keeping it close until it just, they got away from them. And the Tar Heels just went up more and more and more. And North Carolina beats Wagner 90-62. Oh my goodness, just an utter blowout in favor of UNC. But that should be expected with how good UNC was. Then 9th seeded Michigan State manhandles Mississippi State. The 8th seed beats them 69-51. And I swore just every time I checked the TV, checked my apps, I was like, oh my gosh, Michigan State's up more and more and more. And they make a little run to the round of 32. Moving down a bit, GCU, the 12th seed, upsets number 5 seed St. Mary's. They actually got it done. GCU played their hearts out in this game, and it all goes out to their star player, T. Grant Foster, 22 points for him. R. Harrison, another guard, dropping 17 points respectively. And I just think GCU caught St. Mary's off guard. I had St. Mary's in a number of my brackets, but GCU, they can hang. And then our 4th seed, taking our 13th seed, Alabama, is able to handle Charleston 109-96, which I believe, if I'm not mistaken, has been the most points put up so far in the tournament, 109 by Alabama, if I'm not mistaken. Is the least amount 52 by Stetson? I think that might be the least amount of points scored. Nope, there's actually a different one where less points are scored. We'll get to that later. But yeah, impressive stuff by Alabama. We go to the round of 32. North Carolina manhandles Michigan State 85-69. UNC is going into the Sweet 16 with so much momentum. But I'll tell you who honestly is too, and that's Alabama, the 4th seed. GCU, Grand Canyon University, brought the heat in the round of 32, but Alabama is able to pull away at the end, winning 72-61. Put up a great fight, and shout out to T. Grant Foster, 29 points, left it all out on the court. No one else on GCU even got into double digits. But man, Mark Sears, that boy can shoot 5 for 11 from deep, 26 points. And Alabama, can we nerf Alabama? They're just good at too many sports. They are good at too many sports, and they make it to the round of Sweet 16, I keep saying that round of 16. I guess that is, they make it to the round of 16, the quarterfinals, if you will. And UNC and Alabama, it's going to be competitive. I hate picking all number 1 seeds, but man, UNC, you blow out Wagner, you blow out Michigan State. Alabama, they were played semi-close in both games. They couldn't slack at all points. North Carolina didn't even have their starters in for the final 10 minutes of both games. Like, they had this firmly in the bag. Checking out the bottom of the West, a lot of unexpected things going on down here. This was the main region where my back brackets were getting busted. First off, number 16, Clemson blows out New Mexico 77-56. New Mexico was my 11th seed that I had making a little run. I had them some of my sweet 16s, Elite 8s, Final 4s, and no, they decided to get blown out by Clemson. But little did I know, Clemson has one of the best players in the country, and his name, if I'm not mistaken, is P.J. Hall forward. I mean, just an excellent player. You also had C. Hunter at guard dropping 21 points. P. Hall had 14. Impressive stuff from them. New Mexico letting me down very much so. Baylor, 3 seed, blows out Colgate 92-67. Yeah, who keeps letting Colgate into the tournament? They never win. Baylor, easy run to this round of 32 for them. Dayton beats Nevada 63-60, comes back down. I think it was either 12 or 20. Dayton somehow makes a run to the round of 32. That was a bracket buster. I had no faith in Dayton. I was riding with Nevada in almost all my brackets. And little did I know is that frickin' Dayton's nasty. Dayton was nasty with it. It was honestly Nevada's game to lose. That's all I'll say. That's all I'll say for this one. It was Nevada's game to lose. And one thing, though, is that Dayton got to the free throw line 15 times. Nevada only got to it 6 times and made 3 of those. So one thing is they weren't drawing a lot of fouls. Bottom of the West, number 2 seed Arizona blows out Long Beach State, the 15th seed, 85-65. It was fun to think Long Beach State could win, but obviously, Arizona manhandled them, beating them by 20. Just never stood a chance, sadly. Caleb Love drops 18 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists. Just like Cade Boswell dropping 20. Entire starting lineup for Arizona, all getting in the double-digit point category. We go to the round of 32, and Clemson and Baylor, 6 and 3 seed matchup here. One of the best games I've seen so far in the tournament. Action-packed down to the finish. Clemson comes out on top 72-64, but in reality, that's just from free throws. This was really a 1-point, 2-point, 3-point game separating them down the wire. This was such a good matchup. And I mean, as for Clemson, P.J. Hall, 11 points. Fouled out at 5 with 5 fouls, but I mean, it's really, he's a role player, such a good role player. Guard C. Henry, I don't even know what his first name is, 20 bomb again. Shout out to R. Godfrey, forward, had 8 points, 5 rebounds off the bench. Good stuff there, and I mean, Baylor left out there all on the court. I mean, what more could you ask for from the Baylor Bears? And I mean, in their round 1 game, you had Jay Bridges dropping 23 points for them in this game. Baylor, Jay Bridges. How many did Jay Bridges have in this matchup? I mean, if the March Madness website will load for me. Our Dennis had 27, Jay Walter had 20, Bridges had 10 points. I mean, just a lot of players making themselves a star, trying to do their best. But yeah, Clemson advancing to the Sweet 16, taking on number 2 seeded Arizona. Arizona handles Dayton 78-68. I mean, Wildcats, I'm pretty sure led the whole game. I mean, just in their bag. Dayton, they had D. Holmes the second. He dropped 23. Good stuff for them. But Caleb Love, 19 points again. He's one of the best college basketball players of all time. And, you know, I picked UNC over Alabama, and I want to see Caleb Love rematch his old team, which is UNC North Carolina. So give me Arizona over Clemson. That should be great games. All these Sweet 16 games lining up to be good, but I don't think a lot of people had number 6 Clemson winning that. I think a lot of people had New Mexico or Baylor. A lot of people were expecting that. And honestly, as we poke around, that's pretty much the only huge upset. I think if Auburn had beaten Yale, I think a lot of people did have Auburn against UConn. But I mean, you know, left side of the bracket, a lot of fun matchups, but I mean, a lot more good stuff on the right side. West and the East did not disappoint. Let's go up to the upper right part of the bracket to look at all the action that went down in the South. Kicking off our south part of the bracket, I mean, we got the number 2 team, if you will, in the nation, Houston. And, it was funny, like, I know people are speaking about how Longwood, maybe because, like, their, like, name might have been able to win this game, but they never stood a prayer. Houston blows out Longwood by 40 points. Longwood only puts up 46 points, which is the lowest in the entire tournament so far. And, I mean, actually, no, it wasn't. My goodness, I keep finding other scores that were lower, but, yeah, not even getting to 50. Very embarrassing for Longwood. Houston's just too much of a wagon. Moving down, number 8 seed Nebraska is upended by Texas A&M, 98-83. It's unfortunate for Nebraska. They had that one Japanese stud of a player. Completely forgot his name. I'm so sorry. What is it? Tominga. He dropped 21 points. He also had B. Williams for Nebraska, putting up 24 points. But for Texas A&M, I mean, they had 3 starters putting up 20 points. I mean, Taylor the fourth had 25. Texas A&M was an absolute powerhouse in that game. Moving down, James Madison upsets Wisconsin, 12 seed over the 5 seed. I mean, the Dukes, they just had it going. And honestly, this was such a 50-50 game for me. I didn't know what to expect going into this, but James Madison, they proved they were as legit as people say they were as they knocked off Wisconsin. Moving down, I mean, Duke, no problem with Vermont. Beats them by 17. Vermont never stood a chance. Duke was on absolute freaking fire. Jared McCain, I mean, how many points did that boy have? That boy put up 15, only 15? Only 15? I think it was the other game. I think it was the other game that we'll talk about, the round of 32 game, where he went absolutely ballistic, which is actually what we're getting to right now, as Duke blew out James Madison 93-55. Yeah, James Madison got humbled quickly by Duke. Jared McCain putting up 30 points, 8 for 11 from 3. I think he set a record for most threes by a Duke freshman or something, Duke player in a game. It was super impressive. I mean, you had Tyrese Proctor dropping 18 points, Kyle Filipowski getting 14. Man, Duke was on absolute fire in this game. I'm sorry, James Madison, never stood a prayer. I mean, you had T. Bickerstaff getting 11 points, T. Edwards Jr. getting 13. JMU, never stood a prayer. Number 4, Duke advancing, and they take on Houston, who sneaks past Texas A&M. Houston versus Texas A&M, one of the best games of the tournament so far, as they win 100-95 in overtime. And oh my goodness, I don't know what player it was who hit the buzzer beater, but Texas A&M hits a buzzer beater as time expires. So 3 nonetheless to send the game to overtime. The Aggies putting up a fight against number 1 seeded Houston. But man, just Houston would not be denied. Even their starters falling out, even everything they're going through, they come up big in overtime, just prove to be the spirit team, and you will get number 1 seed Houston, number 4 seed Duke in the Sweet 60. You can't write a name better than that, man. Just two excellent teams. But I'll point some out to you. I mean, blowout wins for both in the first round. Round 2, though, Houston really struggled against Texas A&M. They had to fight hard for that. Meanwhile, Duke, they had their backups playing like almost the entire second half. They just blew out James Madison. Jared McCain drops a third of their points. Oh, my gosh. So I'm riding with Duke over Houston. I think when you're struggling with a team like Texas A&M and you're playing someone like Duke, Duke is just a staple of March Madness. I think there's going to be some struggle there, but should be an excellent matchup, and props to both of those teams for making it to the Sweet 16. Up next, game-wise, we headed to Texas Tech and North Carolina State, and the 11th seeded NC State gets it done, beats Texas Tech 80-67, led by their star player, what's his freaking name? DJ Burns Jr., 16 points, only had 1 rebound. Maybe I'm thinking of the wrong player. I swear that boy was a menace in the paint. But yeah, NC State gets past Texas Tech. Impressive win, 80-67, and they had more in store in the second round. But the biggest upset of the tournament, as 14th seeded Oakland upsets number 3 seed Kentucky 80-76, and I'm sure you've seen him. He's been the star of the tournament so far from Oakland. What's his freaking name? Jack Golke, 32 points, 10 for 20 from 3. That boy had 10 triples. Absolute dot off the bench, apparently. I don't even know how these stats have been working, but dude was on absolute fire, and he said it perfectly. He said, we knew going in that we were playing a bunch of NBA prospects, but he knows that he can hang with any of them any night, and they frickin' did. Kentucky gets upset, bracket buster, and the Oakland Bears go on to round of 32. They had their hands full with NC State, and it was a close battle back and forth down to the wire, but the wolf pack of NC State comes out on top 79-73. DJ Burns, 24 points, 11 rebounds. Getting it done. You even had M. Daera, 11 points, 13 rebounds, 12 of those defensive. And let me just tell you, for Oakland, man, Golke, 22 points, 6 for 17 from 3. Yet again, doing the most he could. But Trey Townsend, 30 points starting forward for Oakland. He was just an absolute baller out there. And it was impressive overall. Great game, but NC State comes out on top. Final two games in the South. Colorado upsets Florida, and that's right, another play-in team wins. The streak continues. Colorado beats Florida 102-100. Crazy stuff down the lane. Might have been an almost buzzer beater. I think it was an almost buzzer beater, but Colorado, super impressive, going from beating Boise State 60-53 in the play-in to beating Florida and then moving to the round of 32. But that was not Colorado. That was not the end of Colorado's story just yet. Marquette, the 2 seed, and struggles a bit early on with Western Kentucky, the 15th seed, but manages to break away in the second half, beats them 87-69, and we had number 2 seed Marquette versus number 10 seed Colorado, and this game was back and forth down the wire. I mean, oh my goodness, Colorado running the Golden Eagles of Marquette, just pushing them to the limit. But at the end of the day, it came down to shooting, and Marquette shot 61% from the field. More threes to Colorado. They attempted more, too, might I add. And I mean, Colorado, best player, K. Simpson, dropped 20 points. At the end of the day, it came down to Marquette. And shout out to Kolek, starting guard, 21 points for him. Also had 11 assists. He was balling as Marquette, the Golden Eagles, come out on top 81-77 in such a close matchup. I mean, just pushed to their limits. Colorado gave them a run for their money, but Marquette comes out on top. So you have it, your 2-11 seed doing battle in the Sweet 16. I don't really know what to ride with. You know, part of me likes Marquette, part of me likes NC State, but I got to ride with DJ Burns and the 11th seed NC State to advance to the Elite Eight. We'll see what happens, but that matchup should be an absolute banger. But yeah, talk about the South, that bottom region. NC State with the upset, Oakland with the upset, Colorado with the upset, Marquette almost getting upset. Just back-to-back heaters. Absolutely loved it. Let's wrap things up in the Midwest part, the bottom right of the bracket. Moving down to the final few games of the bracket, or round 1 and 32, I should say. Number 1, Purdue, no issue with Grambling State, no issue with the 16th seed this year. The number 1 seeded Boilermakers manhandled the Tigers, beating them by 28 points. Grambling State, you had a fun run, but Zach Edey, 30 points, 21 rebounds. Oh my gosh, how are you going to stop them? How are you going to stop him? You're just not. Grambling State crumbles to the might of Zach Edey. We share the same name. I think we have power together. Number 8 seed Utah State handles TCU, the 9 seed, 88-77. No upset here. Utah State doing what they do best, breaking down teams. And by the way, out of their 4 starters, 5 had double-digit points. That'll help you. Second round, I mean, Purdue manhandles Utah State 106-67, beats them by 39 points. Purdue, they're coming in with a vengeance this year. This is not the same Purdue team from last year or the year before. No. Zach Edey, 23 points, 14 rebounds. Another crazy performance. Kaufman Wren, starting forward, 18 points, 8 rebounds. Yeah, the Boilermakers, the number 1 seed, they're back in the Sweet 16 for the first time in 2 years. My goodness. 5 seed Gonzaga blows out 12 seed McNeese. McNeese was coming in the favored 12 seed to be pulling off upsets, but none so much. Beats them by 21. Gonzaga on a roll. Then 4th seed Kansas taken to the limit by 13th seeded Sanford. Comes down to the wire. Kansas comes out on top 93-89, but this was no easy challenge whatsoever. I mean, Sanford, the Bulldogs coming in, they knew that what was at stake with this Kansas team, and just, my goodness, what a battle. And all came down to Hunter Dickinson, starting center, 19 points, 20 rebounds, powers Kansas past Sanford, just barely came down to the wire. Moving into round 2, though, I mean, Gonzaga had no issue at Kansas, beats them by 21, just pulled away in the second half. Tough to say. Kansas was missing their star player. Gonzaga able to capitalize. Just impressive stuff all around. But shout out to Hunter Dickinson, 15 points, 5 rebounds, as I think he was a senior, so that may be the end of his college career. So how about that? Number 1 seed Purdue, number 5 seed Gonzaga doing battle in the Sweet 16, and I just don't see Purdue being stopped, man. I understand Gonzaga's coming in off of back-to-back 20-plus point wins, but Purdue wins by 28, wins by 39. Yeah, Purdue looking to become like the 2019 Virginia, who lost to a 16 seed in 2018, came back and won the tournament in 2019. Moving down to our final few games of the first and second round, number 11 seed Oregon blows out number 6 seed South Carolina. Talk about upset, but a lot of people saw it coming. They were favored as well. Oregon wins 87-73. The Ducks, just an absolutely amazing performance in the tournament. And talk about for the first round, their star player, oh my gosh, just Jay Couisnard, 40 points for the Ducks. And how about Andante, the center, 23 points. I mean, the Oregon Ducks, absolutely amazing performance in round 1. It would carry over to round of 32. Before that, we get to that, though. Number 3 seed Creighton blows out number 14 seed Akron, 77-60. I mean, the Blue Jays just on absolute fire. The Akron Zips, they barely made it into tournament. They made it in with a buzzer beater. Creighton was having no part of that. Starting players all getting in double digits. Now about their starting guard, Shearman, 15 points, 13 rebounds. Center Kalbrenner, 23 points, 8 rebounds as well. Incredible performance from the Blue Jays. Then we get into the round of 32, and Creighton and Oregon giving us the best game of the tournament so far, going to second overtime. I mean, absolutely crazy back and forth action the whole way. Creighton pushed to the limit. Player stats for Oregon, Jay Couisnard and Andante combined for 60 points, 32 points for Couisnard, 28 for Dante. Dante also had 20 rebounds. And by the way, in the second half, Couisnard and Dante, the only players to score for Oregon. Oh my gosh, 2 of their other starters didn't even score points. Evans and Evans Jr., no points. Absolutely crazy, competitive back and forth. But at the end of the day, came down to the Blue Jays. T. Alexander, 20 points, starting guard. Other starting guard, 21 points. Their center, Kalkbrenner, 19 points, 14 rebounds. Starting guard, B. Shermarin, 18 points, 9 rebounds. Creighton comes out on top in second overtime, 86-73. And by the way, I mean, Oregon only put up 1 basket in second overtime. They were absolutely exhausted by the time it came around. Creighton capitalizes. We'll see in the Sweet 16. Moving into our final 4 games, number 7 seed Texas manhandles Colorado State 56-44, and there it is, 44 points from Colorado State, the least amount in a tournament game this tournament. The other one that I can remember is I think in the Sweet 16 a couple years ago, West Virginia put up like 39 points in a game. It was pretty embarrassing, but Texas powers past them. I mean, that was Bijan Robinson's team starting running back for the Falcons. He had a great first round bracket. He was a meme for a while, but Texas went to the round of 32, but they had tough competition as number 2 seed Tennessee blows out St. Peter's. We don't get a Doug whatever. You know, Doug from the St. Peter's run 2 years ago. Now 15th seeded Peacocks get blown out 83-49. Just nothing going for them. Tennessee just too on fire. The Volunteers just had it going. And talk about Dawson Neck or whatever. 23 points, 4 for 8 from 3. That boy a star. Moving into the round of 32, Texas and Tennessee giving us a great battle. One of the best games of the tournament so far. Tennessee comes out on top 62-58, but it came down to the wire. I mean, let me tell you, these two boys could not shoot well. Tennessee shoots 33% from the field. Texas shoots 36%. Just, nothing was falling for them. 3 for 25 from deep for Tennessee, 7 for 23 from Texas. Just nothing was falling, but that did lead to a lot of rebounds. 42 rebounds for Tennessee. Best player, Abmas for Texas. Amazing starting guard, amazing career at Texas. Shout out to him. But, when it comes down to Tennessee, came down to Dawson Connect, 18 points, 9 rebounds, but did shoot 1 for 8. From the deep. It was a team game. At the end of the day, Tennessee comes out on top, and they'll face Creighton in the Sweet 16. I've almost said it again. I almost said the round of 16, but the Sweet 16. So, yeah, number 3 seed Creighton, number 2 seed Tennessee. I do lean towards Creighton. I like this Creighton team a bit more than I like this Tennessee team, but that game should be, so close. So, some absolute bangers, some absolute upsets. Your biggest upset, I believe, looking back, is that 14th seeded Oakland beating 3 seed Kentucky. Other than that, we had some 11s. You, of course, had your 13th seed Yale getting it done, but no 15th seed, no 16th seeds this year. All number 1, number 2 teams making it to the Sweet 16. So, yeah, just to recap the games. UConn, San Diego State. The winner of that will take on the winner of Illinois and Iowa State. By the way, best defenses in the league, if I'm not mistaken. On the other side of the bracket, Houston and Duke will do battle. The winner of that will take on the winner of North Carolina State and Marquette. As well, on the bottom of the bracket, on the left side, North Carolina will take on Alabama. Winner of that will get the winner of Arizona and Clemson. In the Midwest, the Purdue Boilermakers will take on the Gonzaga Bulldogs. Winner of that will take on the Creighton Blue Jays. And the Tennessee, what is Tennessee? The Tennessee Volunteers. So, yeah, lots of fun stuff to come Thursday and Friday in the Sweet 16, then Saturday, Sunday in the Elite 8. You already know I'm going to cook up so many second chance brackets. See if I can predict 15 games correctly. We'll see, but fun times in March Madness. And wow, that actually didn't take as long as I thought it would take, but nonetheless, still taking us quite a while, almost 30 minutes of just talking about March Madness. But with that, we'll get into our final topic for the episode, and that is recapping UFC Vegas 89. Of course, with every UFC event, there's always interesting things to talk about, and as dull as this event was, it was still filled with some memorable moments. Kicking off our little Apex card, we head to the men's heavyweight division, where if you expected any action from unranked heavyweights, you would be mistaken. Mick Parkin remains undefeated, defeating Mohammed Usman by unanimous decision, 29-28 across the board, and just so boring. Actually, there was a moment in round 1 where Mohammed Usman almost knocked down Mick Parkin, and then after that, Mick Parkin literally just boxed him out from distance, outstrikes him 72-57 significantly in total to get a decision win. That'll be Mick Parkin's 9th win overall. He's now 9-0, 3-0 in the UFC with 3 boring decisions. This will be Mohammed Usman's first loss in the last, 2 or 3 years. First loss in the UFC, though, so not too bad, but these guys are not going anywhere near the rankings. I refuse to let them touch the rankings whatsoever. They just are not worthy at all. I'm just taken aback at how boring it was. The discrepancy level between ranked heavyweights and heavyweights like these is insurmountable. I'm looking at the heavyweight rankings right now. John Jones would eat these guys for breakfast. Tom Aspinall, Shogun, Sergey Pavlovich, Curtis Blades, Alexander Volkov. There's just a difference level between the top 6 and the rest of everyone else. And it really showed. It really showed in this one. But good win for Mick Parkin. I'm sure there's an unranked heavyweight out there somewhere for you to fight. Same for Mohammed Usman. Neither of these guys are going anywhere, but they're also not going up or anywhere. Next up, we get to there's just the thing with this event. There was always a thing with the UFC event, and it was this thing. The debuting undefeated prospects, Andre Lima and Igor Severino, going to battle All right, and first off, this starts off as a competitive bout between two undefeated prospects. Okay, round one, Igor Severino outstriking Andre, out-grappling him, very competitive. They threw double elbows at each other. The hits were looking amazing. Everything was going well. And then just before the 3-minute mark of round two, Igor Severino, who I don't know, maybe it's because he's 20 years old and doesn't understand the rules, or maybe he doesn't speak English, or maybe he's just a psycho, bites Andre Lima. I'm talking full-on bites him. You can see a full bite mark. It wasn't even just like an accidental crunch. He freaking bit down. I mean, it was insane. And the ref pulls him off. He's kind of like, disqualified. What are you doing? I mean, I don't think Chris Tognoni knew what to do, but Andre Lima wins his UFC debut by disqualification over Igor Severino, and this sparked so many memes. The UFC posted about it. They actually gave Andre Lima a bonus for this. They called it a bite of the night as like a meme, but they obviously paid him for this. They cut Igor Severino. They cut him from the UFC, didn't pay him his fight purse, and to make it even better, Andre Lima immediately, with the bite mark still on him, went to a tattoo parlor and got it tattooed on him, and in Brazilian it says, "I got effing bit." I mean, just hilarious moments here on this Apex card. What makes it even better is I picked Igor Severino. You gotta be kidding me. I picked the guy who freaking bit another opponent. Utterly ridiculous. I have no more to say about that. But Andre Lima, nonetheless, 8-0, undefeated still. He'll definitely be coming back. Talk about. He'll be back. He was throwing up some good submission attempts too. I'll be excited to see what he brings to the table next. Next up on the agenda, we had a women's bantamweight bout between Daria Zelznikova and Montserrat Rendon. And just as I predicted, Daria Zelznikova gets a unanimous decision win. And tail of the fight here, striking versus grappling. Montserrat Rendon goes 3 of 6 on takedowns for 5 minutes, 24 seconds of control time. Daria lands 73 total strikes, 57 significant to get a decision win. 29-28 across the board. Round one, Rendon went 2 of 2 on takedowns. Probably won round one. Daria outstriking her by 11. Round two, Daria outstriking her significantly, 24-14. Defended 1 of 2 takedowns. Didn't even get controlled for a minute. Round three, Daria really let the hands go, 31 total strikes to 5. Defended 2 takedowns. And getting a win. Good win for Daria Zelznikova. A little 2-fight win streak now, 9-1. Now in the UFC, and we'll take anyone in the women's bantamweight division. Honestly, let's give her 14th ranked Josiana Nunes. I mean, let me just tell you, there's just no talent in women's bantamweight. I'll tell you that. Montserrat Rendon, tough loss for her. Her first career loss, now 6-1. But it just shows that you can't be one-dimensional. You won't be rewarded for it. As much as you kept getting some control time, landing a takedown, it just wasn't enough. So good in for Daria. We predicted it. Predicted it? Whatever word you choose to use. Next up, we actually got a fight of the night this week. Last Apex card. Last week, we didn't even get a fight of the night. This week, we did. And no one saw this coming, as Jarno Aarons beats Steven Wynn by unanimous decision in a fight of the night. And Jarno Aarons, in his 2 previous UFC fights, had gotten knocked down by Sung Woo Choi, taken down, outstruck, grappled to death by William Gomez, and he decided to completely elevate his game, and he now improves to 14-5-1 with this win, and so much momentum. As for Steven Wynn, this does snap a little winning streak for Steven Wynn, a little 3-fight winning streak. But I mean, come on, you go from winning on 2 Dana Contender Series, in your debut, you lose a fight of the night, his stock will rise up. But I mean, this was a competitive, bloody fight from the get-go. Jarno outstriking him in round 1, 40-21. Steven managed to land 1 takedown, but Jarno was able to get right back up. Round 2, I don't know how Steven didn't get knocked out. Jarno dropped him, outstrikes him 33-22. But Steven Wynn just kept coming back, throwing hands, throwing big kicks, trying to do anything he can. Round 3, Jarno outstrikes him 33-20 significantly to get the unanimous decision win. A great win, especially in the men's featherweight division. Always a chance to move up the rankings. Jarno, I'm happy for you. Steven, thank you, for taking this fight and delivering a fight of the night on a rather dull evening here at the Apex. Next up, oh my gosh, Miles Johns beats Cody Gibson by unanimous decision, 30-27 across the board. And this just shows that any fighters that come from the Ultimate Fighter nowadays suck. They honestly suck. They honestly are not good. Brian Battle may be the one exception. The season 29 may be the one exception, but Cody Gibson, runner-up on this past season of The Ultimate Fighter, just loses to Miles Johns. Totals from the fight, 25 significant strikes to 18 for Miles Johns, 64 total strikes to 52 for Miles Johns, 2 of 8 on takedowns for 6.5 minutes control time for Miles Johns. 1 of 7 on takedowns for Cody Gibson for just under 2 minutes of control time. I mean, just nothing happened in this fight. Round 1, Miles gets outstruck but outgrapples. Round 2, he outstrikes and outgrapples. Round 3, gets outstruck but outgrapples. I mean, I had nothing to go off of in this one. And Miles Johns, he's now on a little 3-fight unbeaten streak. Should be a win streak. Good one for Miles Chapo Jones. He's now 14-2 professionally. But yeah, just not really much momentum here. And as for Cody Gibson, he now improves to 1-5 in UFC competition. Embarrassing stuff. I don't want to see Cody Gibson back. I do want to see Miles Johns back in the bantamweight division. Happy for you, Miles, but I mean, nothing to go here. Davey Grant would have pieced up Cody Gibson if that fight would have actually taken place. Miles Johns, by the way, stepped down short notice, getting the W. No idea what's next for him at bantamweight, but best of luck. Then we got our first freaking finish of the night, and by the way, it did not come from what I thought it would, as Julian Erosa submits Ricardo Ramos with the guillotine in 2 minutes. Julian Erosa, I'm honestly happy for him, dude. This was a make or break for Julian. He gets his 13th career submission. How about that? His 24th career finish. First win since September of 2022. Good win for Julian. As for Ricardo Ramos, he has now lost the exact same way in the exact same round, in just the exact same fashion in back-to-back fights. Back in September, Charles Jourdain submitted him with the guillotine choke in 3 minutes. Julian Erosa submitted him in 2 minutes, 15 seconds with the guillotine choke. Ricardo landed 2 takedowns, looking for just the takedowns, and got caught. Same thing happened here. Erosa grabs on the neck. Ricardo was able to do some with the takedowns, but then just got caught in a guillotine. And that was that. Julian Erosa will remain in the UFC. As for Ricardo Ramos, 1-3 in his last freaking 4 fights. 2-4 in his last 6 fights, and on a 2-fight losing streak. I don't know what to do with this guy. He's not meant for the top of the featherweight division. As for Julian Erosa, you'll remain around. And as we look back, his losses are to freaking Alex Caceres and Fernando Padilla. And as we're going to talk about in just a second, Fernando Padilla is a very talented gentleman. Final prelim of the night went to Trey Ogden and Kurt Holloway, and Trey Ogden getting it done, getting his 17th career victory, and he did it in exactly the fashion you would expect. Takedown round 1, takedown round 2, and takedown round 3, and that was the name of the game. Round 1, 1 of 1 on takedowns, 4 minutes, 12 seconds of control time. Round 2, 1 of 2 on takedowns, 2 minutes, 52 seconds of control time. Round 3, 1 of 1 on takedowns, 4 minutes of control time. Now, Trey Ogden was landing strikes on the ground, though. 225 significant total strikes landed. Significant, only 35. But, impressive nonetheless. Kurt Holloway, we got 29 significant strikes, 129 total strikes, but his age really showed. Kurt Holloway, of course, turning 38 this year. Ugh. My goodness, he now only has 1 win in the last however many years. Trey Ogden, I know he's good. I know he's talented. Should be on a 2-fight winning streak. Happy to see what's next for Trey. But, as for now, nothing. Lightweight, up in the air. We get into the main card, and we do pretty good. 4-2 on predictions. We actually correctly predict the method for 2 of them, but we kicked it off, and I knew this man would win. I knew Fernando Padilla would get it done. I thought it'd be by decision, but no, he wasted no time. He dismantles Luis Bajelo on his way to a performance bonus. Very, very nice stuff from El Valiente. Fernando Padilla, drops Luis Bajelo, outstrikes him 34-5 in the 2 minutes, 45 seconds this fight went on, slaps in a Darce choke while in the clinch, a standing Darce choke, and Fernando Padilla is just on a roll. Showing that loss to Kyle Nelson back in September was a fluke. Now 2-1 in the UFC, both round 1 finishes, and man, that was his 9th career submission, his 14th career finish. I love it, Fernando Padilla. I don't want to throw you right up the rankings at men's featherweight, but I do want to see you back. Him versus Jarno Aarons, that could be a fun fight. Luis Bajelo, Tough loss for you. Snaps his 5-fight winning streak. Tough loss after coming from the Contender Series, but that's what happens when you get fed to a killer like Fernando Padilla. I'm happy for him, Fernando. We'll see what's next for you. Sky's the limit as always. Next up, another freaking finish. This time it comes from Yusuf Zalal over Billy Quarantillo. No one saw this coming. The bettors didn't see it coming. The predictors like me didn't see it coming, as Yusuf Zalal submits Billy Quarantillo in round number 2. And round 1, outstriking Billy 31-8 significantly. 1 of 1 on takedowns, minute and a half control time. I mean, Yusuf hadn't competed in the UFC since August of 2022. Hadn't won in the UFC, period, since August 2020. And this guy had left the UFC after being cut, went on a little win streak. Getting his 7th career submission, 11th career finish, was on a little 3-fight win streak. How about we make it for Yusuf Zalal, the Moroccan Devil, back in the UFC win column. As for Billy Quarantillo, rough going for you, Billy. I can't lie. I do feel a little bad for you, Billy, but I mean, you're now gone win-loss since 2020. You'll beat a Damon Jackson, you'll beat an Alexander Hernandez, you'll lose to a Shane Burgos, Edson Barbosa, and now you'll lose to a Yusuf Zalal. Billy just did not look locked in here, and definitely shows he'll never really get to that level in the featherweight division, but Yusuf Zalal, impressive stuff. Didn't get a performance bonus, but I still respect you. Yusuf. Then my favorite, I don't know, it might be my favorite. I think it's my second favorite performance from the night, but it got a performance bonus as Peyton Talbot dismantles Cameron Saman, absolutely destroys him. Totals from round 1, 59-31 significant strikes. Round 2, 20 significant strikes to 0. Dropped Cameron right off the bat, a 21-second knockout into round 2. I mean, Peyton Talbot let the hands go. Cameron Saman couldn't do anything, went 0 for 3 on takedowns. Peyton Talbot had his number, and Peyton Talbot now improves to 8-0 and gets his 6th knockout. I mean, how about that? Almost 100% finish rate. 7 out of 8 fights, he's all finished. Absolutely love this kid. Absolutely incredible. Peyton Talbot is going to be a star one day, going to be a bantamweight contender one day. Don't shoot him up there just yet. Let's let Peyton develop a bit. He's only 25, still a newbie, but just, oh my goodness, so intense. So just brought the fury. As for Cameron Saman, do feel bad for him after starting out 9-0. He's now lost his last 2. So he's now 9-2, suffered his first career defeat via knockout. I don't know if he'll be back. He thought he was the Dricus du Plessis of South Africa for the bantamweight division. Not the case. It's the Nevada native, Peyton Talbot. I'm excited to see when he fights next, because he got no scratches in this fight. Dropped Cameron. The hands looked amazing. Man, Peyton Talbot. Keep your ears open. He's going to be a name down the line. We look back on a card like this and go, oh my gosh, I watched him when he was a young lad. And when he's 10 years later and he's a champion, we'll be like, whoa, so cool. Next up, my favorite finish, my favorite performance of the night, as I predicted it. I knew it would happen. Edmund Shabazian knocks out AJ Dobson in round number 1 with 27 seconds left, and this was not pretty at all. We get the fight going, and it's back and forth striking, and AJ Dobson keeps catching Edmund, hits him with a big one. Edmund looks wobbly, goes to try and get a takedown. AJ able to hold him off, hits him again. Edmund goes again for a takedown. AJ defends it off, then goes to the ground somehow. Edmund manages to survive, gets it on the ground. AJ reverses it, but then guess what? Edmund Shabazian comes back up on top and just starts pounding AJ's head in, and gets a comeback of the night, in my opinion. My goodness, TKOing his brains into the ground. AJ Dobson is knocked out, unconscious, and Edmund Shabazian will remain in the UFC. Edmund Shabazian getting his 11th career knockout. And if I'm not mistaken, that gives him almost a 100% finish rate. Almost a 100% finish rate. It's 12 out of 13 fights, but nonetheless, impressive as always. That's for AJ Dobson. He actually just got cut today, so he got cut. Tough luck for AJ Dobson. Went 1-3 in the UFC. Just got knocked out. I wish him nothing but the best outside the UFC, but the night belongs to the young man, Edmund Shabazian, 26 years old, trains at the same gym as Sean Strickland. I'm excited to see this little resurgence of Edmund Shabazian. If he can keep it together, I say we rebook that Dusko Todorovic fight, as I think that fight would be a pretty good one to make, nonetheless. And then we got to the co-main event. Oh, yes, the co-main event. Oh, man, I feel like I was getting deja vu from last week's main event as Carl Williams took on Justin Taffa. And let me just tell you, it was the exact same thing we saw in Varsity Debut versus Tai Tuivasa. We saw a Samoan. We saw an Australian native knowing how to strike, having the hands go free, but not knowing how to grapple. Justin Taffa almost knocks out Carl Williams in the opening minutes of round one, then proceeds to get out-grappled. 4 of 4 takedowns for Carl Williams, almost 4 minutes of control time. Justin Taffa gets outstruck 35-6 total, 12-6 significantly. Round 2, same story. Justin Taffa starts hitting Carl Williams. He shoots for a takedown, lands the takedown, and that was the end of the round. And if you thought anything would be different in round 3, nope. Justin Taffa was gassed by then, and Carl Williams just couldn't even get the finish. He attempted 1 submission in round 2. That was that. Carl Williams totals from the fight, 40 significant strikes to 21, of course, in favor of Carl. 123 total strikes to 27 in favor of Carl Williams. 7 of 12 on takedowns for 10.5 minutes of control time. This will be Carl Williams' 3rd win in the UFC, make him 3-0 in the UFC, his 7th win straight professionally. Justin Taffa suffering his, I believe, 4th career loss. They come in droves, I see. Just embarrassing. Didn't know how to grapple. Didn't know what to do. Carl Williams. How about Carl Williams versus Mick Parkin? I guess that's a fight we're going to make. And how about Muhammad Usman versus Justin Taffa? It just kind of, it writes itself. If I'm being honest, it just writes itself. But yeah, nothing exciting. If I'm being honest. Just a snooze fest. And then we got to the main event. And I predicted it. Rose Namajunas over Amanda Ribas by unanimous decision. But I mean, just so boring. I understand it was technical. I understand they both knew what they were doing, but I turned it off after halfway through round 3. I mean, I was just like, I'm not going to see anything different. And I didn't. I mean, the whole fight. Competitive. Rose Namajunas, 93 significant strikes to 83. 169 total strikes for Rose compared to 137 for Ribas. 4 of 8 on takedowns for Amanda Ribas from minute 38 of control time. Rose Namajunas, 1 of 3 on takedowns for almost 7 minutes of control time. 6 minutes, 59 seconds. Round 1, Amanda Ribas lands 2 of 3 takedowns, but they just about all near get reversed in favor of Rose Namajunas, who outstrikes her significantly, 23-16. Round 2, neither woman can get a takedown. Rose does manage to get 2 minutes of control time in the clinch. Outstrikes her 43-22. Round 3, Amanda Ribas finally got ahead. 31 total strikes to 20. 2 of 3 on takedowns for 1 minute and 20 seconds of control time. Round 4, Rose Namajunas outstrikes her 45-29. Lands a takedown. 2 minutes, 4 seconds control time. Round 5, Rose outstrikes her significantly, 25-24. Goes 0-1 on takedowns. And Rose Namajunas will get her first win since November of 2021. Good win for Rose. Gets it done. 13th win professionally. Snapping a little 2-fight losing streak, but nothing exciting. Amanda Ribas has now gone win-loss since winning in July of 2020. So there's that. I mean, just nothing much more to say. Rose Namajunas will debut in the women's flyweight division at the number 8 spot in the rankings. Amanda Ribas will probably drop down in both divisions. In the women's pound for pound, Rose will probably stay the same at 8th. But I mean, just nothing freaking happened. Just absolutely nothing. I was so bored. I was so bored watching this. I was about to fall asleep, and I actually did fall asleep. That's why I turned it off. So yeah, that concludes another Apex event, UFC Vegas 89. And what's next for these women? I mean, Amanda Ribas can honestly take on an up-and-comer, Tracy Cortez, Karine Silva, Miranda Maverick. A lot of options for her. As for Rose Namajunas, looking up in the rankings. I mean, she could take on a rematch with Jessica Andrade, a little trilogy there. Macy Barber action. She could fight Valentina Shevchenko. She could fight, I don't even care. I'll be honest, I just do not care. I don't think it matters. I don't really think anything was accomplished here. I will always remember this card as the card another human being bit another human being in the octagon, which is just absolutely astounding. So we'll leave that there. We're going to leave UFC Fight Night Ribas versus Namajunas in the past. Instead, we'll look forward to the future. This upcoming Saturday, March 30th, going down in Atlantic City, New Jersey. UFC Fight Night Blanchfield versus Fiora. Going to be an absolutely amazing matchup. Cannot wait for that. Winner gets a title shot. We're going to be breaking it down, all the fights on the next episode, dropping this Thursday or Friday, depending on how I'm feeling. And I mean, co-main event, Vicente Luque, Joaquin Buckley, amazing welterweight matchup. You get former middleweight champion Chris Weidman take on Bruno Silva, the 6'5" knockout machine on 9-fight win streak. Nursultan Ruzabuov takes on the gangbanger Cedric Dumas. You get Chidian Kruchani versus Rise McKee, loser leave situation. The exciting Nate the Train Landwehr is back. You get top 10 women's strawweight action, Virna Jandiroba, Lupi Godinez. You get the younger brother of Gilbert Burns, Herbert Burns, taking on Julio Arce. Get a lot of debuting Dana White's Contender Series fighters, Connor Matthews, Ibo Aslan, Angel Pacheco. You get grappling masterclass between Andrei Petrosky and Jacob Malkoun, the return of the Russian Victoria Dudikova. I mean, so much action. Cannot wait to cover that. But we'll leave all that for a future episode. Thank you all so much for joining me today. This was a fun one. Going over Roadhouse, going over WrestleManias, going over March Madness, going over UFC. I love doing it. Next episode, tons of new surprises, tons of new action. And speaking of, if you love the 48 Laws of Power series, we've got a brand new book we're going to be starting called The Art of War by Sun Tzu. Excited to be starting that, ladies and gentlemen. That's for another time, so I will catch you next time on the Surprise Jab Podcast.